500-year-old frozen mummy on the mountain of death that challenges human history. Hello, and welcome to the Ancient History Channel. My friends, have you ever wondered what would happen if the history of humankind that we have trusted for so long turned out to be only part of the truth? If there were ever an archaeological discovery powerful enough to send chills down scientists' spines, strong enough to force the entire academic world to re-examine what has long been considered established knowledge, then this is exactly the story we are about to explore today. It is a story that goes beyond mummies, touching the fragile boundary between science, belief, and the brutal consequences of ancient faith. And trust me, the deeper we go, the harder it will be to look away. In 1999, on the summit of Lulai-Lako volcano, one of the most extreme environments on Earth, rising to an elevation of approximately 22,110 feet above sea level, right on the border between Chile and Argentina, a team of archaeologists led by Dr. Johann Reinhard made a discovery that stunned the world. Amid relentless snow, freezing winds, and temperatures capable of killing a human being within minutes, they found three remarkably well-preserved child mummies, miraculously frozen for more than 500 years. These children were not nameless. Researchers gave them names tied closely to history. The oldest, a girl estimated to be between 13 and 15 years old, was named the Lulai-Lako Maiden. A young boy, around 4 to 5 years old, became known as the Lulai-Lako Boy. And a younger girl, whose story is no less tragic, was named the Lightning Girl. Among them, however, it was the Maiden, the adolescent girl, who left the scientific community truly astonished. When archaeologists opened the burial chamber, the Maiden was found sitting cross-legged, her head slightly bowed forward, her hands resting neatly in her lap, as if she had merely drifted into sleep. She wore a feathered headdress, her hair carefully braided. Surrounding her were offerings of gold, silver, finely woven textiles, and food containers, clear signs that she was no ordinary victim. But what truly left scientists frozen in disbelief lay inside her body. During examination, researchers discovered that the Maiden's internal organs were almost completely intact. Her brain was preserved. And astonishingly, there was still blood inside her heart. Yes, you heard that correctly. After more than 500 years, this mummy retained biological traces that should have disappeared centuries ago. Dr. Emma Brown, an archaeologist at the University of Bradford in the United Kingdom, described her reaction. The three children looked as if they had died only weeks or even hours earlier. When I looked at the girl's hands, her fingers still covered in skin and flesh, I genuinely felt chills. They looked no different from the hands of a living person. These may be the best preserved mummies ever found in the world. So what happened to these three children? According to researchers, they were victims of an ancient ritual known as capacocha, a sacrificial ceremony practiced by the Inca Empire, a civilization that once ruled vast regions of South America. The Inca believed that sacrificing pure children, especially young virgins, would appease the gods and protect the empire from natural disasters, disease, and supernatural forces. In Inca culture, girls who were chosen were separated from their families upon reaching puberty and placed under the strict supervision of priestesses. They were regarded as sacred beings. Yet for that very reason, their fate was decided early in life. On the day of the ceremony, the children were taken to the peaks of high mountains and left to succumb to the brutal cold. Ironically, these extreme natural conditions, sub-zero temperatures, thin air, and an arid environment, created a kind of natural deep freeze, preserving their bodies with extraordinary perfection for centuries. But the story does not end there. In 2012, scientists at the University of Bradford revealed an even more shocking discovery through the analysis of hair samples taken from the three mummies. The results showed that during the year leading up to their deaths, the children had been regularly given alcohol and coca leaves, the raw material used to produce cocaine. In particular, the Lulai-Lako Maiden had consumed large amounts of alcohol in the final weeks before the sacrifice. Their diets also changed dramatically. Previously, they had eaten mostly potatoes and common vegetables. But once selected for sacrifice, they were fed corn, llama meat, and more nutrient-rich foods, a form of preparation for the sacred ritual. Dr. Andrew Wilson stated that the Maiden appeared to have been chosen approximately 12 months before her death. Compared to the other two children, she was better cared for, wore finer clothing, appeared calmer, and showed no signs of physical violence. Tragically, however, The very alcohol and cocaine given to her dulled her body's response to the cold, allowing death to arrive quickly and silently. In stark contrast, the Lulailako boy suffered a far more painful end. Evidence suggests he had been restrained. His clothing was stained with blood and vomit, clear signs of terror and extreme stress before death. This stands as undeniable proof that not all ancient rituals were as peaceful as they were once believed to be. Finally, scientists also discovered that the maiden suffered from a disease similar to tuberculosis. This finding raises new hope that ancient tissue samples like these could help modern medicine better understand the origins and potential treatments of certain diseases that still affect us today. But if you think the story of the Lulailako mummies is already disturbing enough, prepare yourself, because what comes next delves even deeper. Ahead of us lie even more mysterious archaeological discoveries, where every unearthed artifact has the potential to overturn everything humanity once believed to be true. So don't look away. Let's move on to the next discovery right now. The elixir, buried deep in an ancient tomb in Nanjing, China, reveals the bitter secret of its owner's life. Nanjing, a land with 1,000 years of civilization, the capital of 6 major dynasties in Chinese history, is not only the birthplace of many mysterious stories, but also a place that holds archaeological secrets that astonish people. What if, right beneath the ground by the mighty Yangtze River, there lies a grand ancient tomb belonging to a noble of the Eastern Jin dynasty, a place that hides not only treasure, but also a heartbreaking tragedy? The story begins in 1990, when archaeologists excavating in Nanjing discovered the tomb of Wang Bin, a high-ranking official during the Eastern Jin dynasty, dating back more than 1,600 years. The tomb structure was extremely solid, adorned with delicate carvings rivaling royal palace decorations, reflecting the status and power of its owner. But what truly shocked archaeologists was not just this. Inside, they found many precious antiques, from beautifully crafted ceramics and jade to rare imported items, such as a glass cup from the Byzantine Empire and Western Europe. This is vivid evidence that, as early as the 4th century, Eastern Jin nobles had begun establishing trade relations with the West, something previously thought to be common only during the Tang or Song dynasties. However, the strangest part of the story lies in an unexpected detail. Alongside Wang Bin's remains, archaeologists also discovered the mummified body of a young woman, Wang Danhu, his eldest daughter. This was unusual, as according to ancient Chinese customs, adult daughters were typically buried with their husband's family or in their husband's tomb, never with their birth family. So why was Wang Danhu resting here? The answer was partly revealed when the excavation team found a small ceramic vial near her remains. Modern analysis showed it contained Wuzhishan powder, a famous elixir of the Eastern Jin era, believed to open the mind, prolong life, and even lead toward immortality. Wang Bin, the tomb's owner, was said to have trusted this medicine, and unfortunately, his daughter had used it for many years. Wuzhishan powder contained ingredients like quartz, sulfur, stalactite, and notably mercury, an extremely toxic substance that can cause hallucinations and severe health damage when used long-term. Experts concluded that Wang Danhu suffered serious physiological damage from prolonged use of this medicine, losing her reproductive ability at a very young age. In feudal society, being unable to marry meant a woman had no social support and lost the right to be buried with her husband's family, forcing her to remain with her father, a heartbreaking exception. Behind these so-called miracle pills lies the tragedy of a talented and beautiful daughter whose fate was cruelly destroyed by blind faith in the empty promises of her time. Originally used by Zheng Zhongjing to treat fevers, Wuzhishan powder gradually became a toxic concoction with dangerous components like mercury, both enchanting and destroying the body and mind. The tomb of Wang Bin and Wang Danhu is not only a valuable archaeological site, but also a profound warning to us today. The cost of blindly believing in immortality and false promises can be devastating. In those miraculous pills of the past, there was not only hope, but also deep pain and tragedy. Don't you find it strange that a so-called elixir could become the cause of a troubled life and a tomb holding the sorrow of a father and daughter? This story reminds us that sometimes superstition and misplaced trust can destroy a life, leaving painful traces beneath the earth. Shouldn't we be more cautious about the promises of miracle cures in modern life? I think so. What about you? The immortal salt mummies of Iran. What would you think if I told you that there are people who died thousands of years ago, yet when they were discovered, they still had their hair, skin, beards, and even internal organs almost perfectly preserved? It sounds like something out of science fiction, doesn't it? But this astonishing reality lies deep beneath the ground of Iran, inside an ancient salt mine known as Cherabad. The Cherabad underground salt mine is located west of the city of Zanjan, in northern Iran. It is a massive mining complex that has been exploited by humans for thousands of years, and remarkably, its salt reserves have still not been exhausted to this day. However, what has made Cherabad famous worldwide is not the salt itself, but the ancient human remains preserved in an almost unbelievable state deep within the mine. Since 1993, miners working at Cherabad have repeatedly discovered mummified bodies dating back thousands of years. These remains are known by a very distinctive name, the Salt Men. Thanks to the mine's extremely dry, cold, and highly saline environment, the bodies have undergone almost no decomposition. Hair, skin, flesh, and bones remain intact. So much so that, at first glance, many people mistook them for the bodies of individuals who had died only recently. Even more chilling is the fact that in some of these mummies, internal organs that normally decompose very quickly, such as the stomach and intestines, are still clearly identifiable. This is extraordinarily rare in archaeology and has left scientists deeply astonished. The first mummy was discovered in 1993. It was the body of an elderly man with a long white beard. Beside him were an iron knife and a pair of gold earrings. Through analysis, scientists determined that this man died around 200 AD, but the discoveries did not stop there. In 2004, another mummy was found about 50 feet away from the original location. Then in 2005 and 2006, additional remains were uncovered, including the mummy of a teenage boy. In total, 6 mummies have been discovered in the Cherabad salt tunnels to date. Most remarkably, the oldest mummy found at the site has been dated to approximately 9,550 BC, meaning it is more than 11,000 years old. A figure that sends chills down the spine of anyone who hears it. As for their identities and causes of death, since all of the mummies are male, scientists believe they were likely ancient miners. It is highly possible that they were killed in accidents during salt extraction, or perhaps murdered, and were subsequently buried beneath thousands of tons of salt. This very process inadvertently turned them into natural mummies, preserved in near-perfect condition for millennia. Today, the first 4 mummies are on display at the Zanjan Archaeological Museum, while the 5th is preserved at the National Museum of Iran. The final Salt Man remains in the mine itself, as half of his body is still trapped within rock-hard crystallized salt, making removal nearly impossible. If you ever have the chance to visit Iran, don't miss the opportunity to see these extraordinary salt mummies at the National Museum. They are among the most haunting and fascinating archaeological discoveries in the world. The giant stone sarcophagus in Egypt, a terrifying mistake by the ancient pharaohs. In the heart of Egypt's arid desert, where the heat seems capable of melting time itself, there lies a valley where every grain of sand is soaked with power, blood, and untold secrets. This is the Valley of the Pharaohs, and it is here that archaeologists uncovered a discovery that stunned the entire world. A stone sarcophagus so enormous that even its creators could not fit it properly into the tomb. It sounds absurd, doesn't it? Yet it is entirely true. This colossal sarcophagus is believed to have been the final resting place of Pharaoh Merneptah, a powerful ruler who governed Egypt more than 3,200 years ago. What left archaeologists truly astonished was not only the identity of the man buried inside, but the sheer, almost irrational size of the coffin itself. It measures over 13 feet long, about 7.5 feet wide, and nearly 8.2 feet tall, making it the largest stone sarcophagus ever discovered for a pharaoh. Take a moment and think about that. In an era with no modern machinery, no cranes, no steel, no engines, how could the ancient Egyptians possibly transport a massive granite structure like this deep underground? According to Dr. Edwin Brock, an archaeologist from the Royal Ontario Museum in Canada who was directly involved in the research, this was a feat far beyond what we normally imagine. He admitted, "We have never seen a stone sarcophagus of this size and level of craftsmanship. It reflects the extraordinary technical skill and spiritual beliefs of the ancient Egyptians. Archaeologists believe the sarcophagus was fully assembled first, then dragged into the tomb using a system of pulleys, ropes, and wooden beams. But then, the unthinkable happened. As the work neared completion, the builders realized a catastrophic mistake. The sarcophagus did not fit through the entrance of the tomb, an error that seems impossible in one of the most sacred constructions imaginable, one directly tied to beliefs about the afterlife and the eternal immortality of the pharaoh. Yet instead of abandoning the project or starting over, both nearly impossible options, the builders made a decision so bold it is almost unbelievable. They destroyed the tomb entrance itself. Yes, they smashed the doorway, widened the entrance just enough to move the sarcophagus inside, and then rebuilt everything exactly as it had been before, completely concealing the traces of what may have been the most horrifying error correction in ancient Egyptian history. Over time, the sarcophagus shattered into multiple pieces, possibly due to grave robbers or simply from being buried under stone and earth for thousands of years. Only the lid remains nearly intact, standing as a silent witness to history. Today, archaeologists are painstakingly reassembling each fragment, as if piecing together the memories of a once great civilization. This discovery is not only a triumph of archaeology, but also a powerful reminder that history is shaped not just by glory, but by very human mistakes as well. Noble child's remains were buried with its pet dog in a 2,000-year-old tomb in France. Can you believe this? In what seemed like an ordinary construction site in central France, archaeologists uncovered a secret so astonishing that even veteran researchers were left speechless. And that secret was not gold, silver, or an ancient treasure, but the grave of a baby about 1 year old, buried nearly 2,000 years ago beside its beloved pet dog. What makes this discovery even more chilling is that after all those centuries, the tomb remained almost perfectly intact beneath the earth, as if time itself had never touched it. Even more fascinating, as scientists excavated deeper, they discovered that this child may once have belonged to an extremely wealthy and powerful family during the ancient Roman era. The story officially came to light on January 14, 2021, when archaeologists announced the remarkable discovery following an excavation near the Clermont-Ferrand airport in central France. The dig had originally been carried out in preparation for a new development project, but no one expected that beneath the layers of soil and stone lay such an emotional story about family bonds and ancient burial rituals. Experts quickly determined that the tomb dated back around 2,000 years, during the time when the Roman Empire ruled ancient Gaul, the territory that is now modern-day France. The child had been buried in a small coffin measuring about 31 inches long. Although the baby was only around 1 year old at the time of death, the objects buried alongside it revealed that this was no ordinary child. Just think about it. In the ancient world 2 millennia ago, when most people lived very modestly, this child was laid to rest with numerous valuable grave goods. What does that tell us? Doesn't it reveal a great deal about the child's social status? Archaeologists also revealed that the entire tomb measured about 6.5 feet long and nearly 3 feet wide, containing close to 20 different burial objects. Among the discoveries were several ceramic jars and ancient glass bottles believed to have once held perfume oils or precious medicines. But that was not all. Inside the tomb, researchers also found half of a pig, several cuts of pork, and 2 decapitated chickens, offerings commonly used in funeral rituals during ancient times. However, the detail that captured the most attention lay right beside the child. It was a small dog buried alongside the baby, as though it had never wanted to leave its owner's side. According to scientists, there have been a few cases in which dogs were found buried with children during the Gallo-Roman period. But what made this discovery unique was that the dog was still wearing a decorative bronze collar fitted with a tiny bell. Just hearing that feels both strange and heartbreaking, doesn't it? The collar suggests that the dog was not an ordinary animal, but likely a cherished pet carefully cared for by a noble family. Experts believe the dog may have been buried with the child as a symbol of protection or companionship in the afterlife. And the discoveries didn't stop there. The archaeological team also found a baby tooth from an older child placed carefully on a broken seashell. Researchers believe the tooth may have belonged to the baby's brother or sister, like a final gift sent to a lost loved one. It is this detail that transforms the tomb from a simple archaeological discovery into what feels like a frozen emotional moment preserved beneath the earth for 2,000 years. According to INRAP, the French National Institute for Preventive Archaeological Research, young children during the Gallo-Roman period were often not buried using the same funeral rituals as adults. At that time, most adults were cremated, while children were commonly buried outside communal funeral areas, sometimes even close to where their families lived. That is why the fact that this child was placed inside a large tomb filled with numerous high-quality burial objects is considered extremely rare.